If you've ever wondered why you're doing everything right, eating clean, working out hard, taking the supplements, but your body still feels off, this episode is your wake up call. Because the truth is, you can't balance your hormones, you can't lose the belly fat, and your brain won't chill out if your nervous system is stuck in survival mode. Today, we're getting into the real root cause of midlife burnout with holistic midlife strategist Victoria Lefebre. Welcome to the Fitness Simplified podcast. I'm Brooke Davis, women's functional nutritionist and fitness specialist with Elysian Women's Wellness, and I'm here to simplify your fitness. Your nervous system controls everything. Your hormones, your metabolism, your energy, your weight, your ability to feel joy, and even your confidence. So if you're stuck in this cycle of burnout, bloating, mood swings, you just don't feel like yourself anymore, today's episode is hopefully going to connect the dots for you in a way that finally makes sense. I'm joined by Victoria Lefebre, a holistic midlife strategist, nervous system educator, and the creator of Chaos to Confidence Method. She is also the author of Chaos, Clarity, and Confidence, a book that has helped thousands of women regulate their stress response and reconnect with who they really are. In this episode, we are breaking down why stress is the root of hormone chaos, how to know if your nervous system is stuck in fight or flight, what nervous system regulation actually looks like in a real woman's busy life, and some of the rituals that can help you feel safe in your body again without totally overhauling your life. So if you've been craving some clarity, calm, or just want your body to feel like it's on your side again, this conversation is for you. Let's dive in. And welcome, Victoria. Thank you so much for being here. I am so excited to talk with you today about all of your knowledge and expertise. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. I am really honored to be here. I love having these conversations where we can, dig into all the different parts of what's going on, as women in our midlife, all the chaos that kind of surrounds it, and normalize it, right? Make it an open conversation where everyone can finally feel like, oh, me too. That's okay. It's good. I'm good here. Yeah.
That is, I think, so key. I mean, just as we were talking previously, you're like, just so you don't feel alone. My word was chaos too. It's like, oh, good. And
Yes.
there's something so comforting knowing like I'm not the only one feeling like this. Not that I not that like misery loves company, yes, but like not that I want other people to be, crazy and chaotic too. But it's like, good, okay, we're in this together, and that always feels
Yes.
good. So,
Yeah.
awesome. Well, I would love to start with your story. What kind of brought you into this work as the holistic midlife strategist?
Yeah. So my own burnout led me to this, which often is the case, right? We're trying to find solutions and we end up being our own solution. So for me, I was a massage therapist for 25 years. I had a clinic. I had all the right things, all the perfect things were going on. And then I hit perimenopause. And within a month, I felt like my entire body was falling apart. I didn't know what was going on. The craziest thing, I gained like 40 pounds in 4 weeks. And when I went to my physician about it, she was like, well, maybe you should exercise more. I was like, I think there's something else going on, right?
Thanks.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, I'm working out like 7 days a week. There's no way I can add more. But yeah, so it was just, I was looking for the answers. Like, why is my body going through this? What is happening? There wasn't a lot of conversation happening around it. And I couldn't find any strategies that actually worked for me. I got the Band-Aid strategies and the different coaching approaches, and it wasn't working. Nothing was working. And I couldn't figure out why. And then I realized, dude, your nervous system is completely fried. Like, we did panels and I found out I was in complete adrenal failure. There was everything was completely busted. I worked with a functional medicine doctor and a naturopath, and she pointed out to me, she's like, you're in fight or flight 24/7. You're never in rest or digest ever. You're completely messed up in your systems. And I couldn't find people that could help me. I got okay, that's what's happening. But now what, right? And I was stuck in this now what for so long. So I did research and I started to learn, okay, how do I regulate my nervous system? How do I nourish myself properly in this phase? What do I need? What does my body need? What does my spirit need? And so that kind of was where this all came from. It was just a desire to help myself. But as I'm doing this, so many of the women that were coming forward and saying, Oh my God, that sounds like my story. I can't find anybody. Help me too, right? So that's how this all came about. And I'm so grateful that I had that moment of crashing because it's been so beautiful to help. At the same time, it's like, wow, where was all the resources before that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That story is so so common, and but it's just now I feel like becoming known, right? And,
Mhm.
or more widespread because I'm sure women were experiencing it, prior to
Mhm.
the 2000s, but
Yeah.
I feel like it's just now being like having a name put to it, right? HPA
Mhm.
axis dysfunction, renal fatigue, like that. It's becoming recognized
Yeah.
thing that does actually impact the rest of your body quite
Yes.
significantly, including
Yeah.
weight gain, fatigue, energy levels, all of that. So, yeah, really, really powerful. And that's great that you had somebody again to recognize that. But then you're like, where's the help? Like now, now what
Mhm.
do I do about it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, most women are, I think, really set on this idea of like balancing your
Mhm.
hormones. And, this is my hormones are what's wrong with me. But hormones are just the messenger, right? That is,
Mhm.
they're telling you what's
Yeah.
going on in your body a lot of times, trying to communicate to all the different systems. But very few are talking about the nervous system. And
Mhm.
so, why is this actually the foundation for everything else, like, especially in midlife when things are, unfortunately at a decline that we can't stop, but there's so much we can't control. So let's dive into that.
Yeah, I love that. So, what you said, they're the messengers, right? So, they're just doing as they're told to do, our hormones. And so, for many of us, we're in that fight or flight. I know I was. I know so many of my clients and the people I work with, the women that I work with, we're in fight or flight. So, when your body is in fight or flight, it's because maybe you've been under stress for a long time, or there's just constant bombardment in your nervous system. Your nervous system is what's telling your hormones what to do. And if your nervous system thinks there's always danger present, it's going to be completely dysregulating what's going on in your body. So we have in midlife already that's recalibration happening, right? Our hormones are shifting. Our body is shifting from we're gonna make babies to no, we're not doing that no more, right? We're done. Let's move on to the next phase. So if we have that already happening, and then we add a layer of all these unprocessed stressors, unprocessed emotions, there's this level of chaos that builds, and our nervous system is no longer regulating the hormones. It's just sending like, goodness gracious, everything's going wrong signals out to our entire body. So we have to get to the place where we can turn the body back into our rest and digest. You turn off the fight or flight and start to, recognize that our foundation is that nervous system. It is literally telling our bodies everything it needs to know. So if we don't build that foundation, it doesn't matter, if you're taking all the right supplements, if you're doing the proper diets, if you're doing all the workout plans, they may shift and you may see results. But if your nervous system stays dysregulated, eventually it's going to catch up. And, I've seen so many women that like crash and burn out because their nervous system is constantly firing and playing catch up, right? Because you can't out hustle a dysregulated nervous system.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
and the nervous system, like, it's connected to everything,
Yeah.
especially the adrenals, right? That is what controls the cortisol, the adrenaline, the epinephrine, norepinephrine, and that is our backup
Mhm.
to the hormones in perimenopause that are declining in 30s and beyond. So like you mentioned, if this is just constantly on overdrive, your body literally can't, the word recalibration, I love that because it's trying to like rebalance and
Mhm.
restabilize, find that homeostasis again while your ovaries are like, oh, hey, down, like doing
Right?
and this
Yeah.
this chaotic increase in decline in hormones. And the other thing, that you mentioned was the unprocessed trauma and emotions. And like this is not my scope at all, but it is such a potent area that
Mhm.
I feel like absolutely needs to be addressed in, I mean, way before midlife ideally, but
Yes.
we carry all of these things for so long and they don't
Mhm.
realize how they're impacting us I think that it becomes this breaking point in
Mhm.
midlife. Your body's like, okay, we have all these other things going on. Now we can't bury what this
Yeah.
underlying unprocessed monster in the
Everything.
closet. So
Yeah. Yeah.
and so that is, yeah, I think that was great. Like I said, addressing that is
Mhm.
huge. So in terms of, like we mentioned, it obviously it impacts your hormones. Your nervous system
Mhm.
is the control center,
Yeah.
essentially. So
Yeah.
it's impacting everything. But specifically, how do we see that coming into weight loss resistance? Like you mentioned, you gained like
Mm.
40 pounds in 4 weeks. That's insane. That's
Yeah.
probably the most I've ever the fastest I've ever
Yeah.
heard somebody gaining. So
It
did
was
you get
insane.
some insight into like what your hormones were actually doing at that point? I'm assuming yes. Can you tell us a little bit
Mhm.
more about, I mean, yours personally, and then what experience you have with that?
Yeah. Yeah. So I actually, from what we could see in my panels, I'd actually hit complete like burnout. My body just completely shut down. My adrenals had shut down. I wasn't processing. I wasn't filtering. You know, a lot of that weight was probably water retention. I was swollen from head
Inflammation.
to toe. Oh my gosh. I couldn't make fists. My hands were so sore. My feet, like when you get plantar fasciitis and you get up in the morning, your feet are like, ouch. I couldn't walk on my feet because they were so inflamed. And it was the weirdest. I was just like I was and it literally felt like it was overnight. It felt like I went to bed and I was exhausted and burnt out, but hey, I can manage. And then I woke up the next day and my body was like, hell's no. We're not managing anymore at all. So, I mean, that's kind of extreme. There was a lot more. Now that I look back, there was so many more symptoms that my body was literally screaming at me, like, can you please address this? Can you please address this? Right. But I was in the chaos. I had so much going on in my life. Everything had been flipped upside down for us. My son had been in a major accident and it was just like, you go, 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 go. There was no, wait, mom's not right. It was just everybody else, right? And that happens. Sometimes that happens. But I was in such a fight or flight response from the moment that I found out the accident. And this was like 6 months later when everything crashed down that I didn't see it. So, I mean, when it comes to that kind of stuff, yes, my case is extreme, but I mean, I've worked with so many women that are getting the little signs like I've gained a little bit of weight. I've got this like weird bloating happening every day and I don't know why. Like I can't I'm gluten intolerant now. I love that. Right? It's like, "Oh, I just all of a sudden became gluten intolerant." I'm like, "Did you?" No, or like different things, the aches and the pains, the frozen shoulder, the migraines, you wake up and you're still tired or those 3 a.m. that go off in your brain and you don't know why, but you've woken up and you're thinking about the thing that happened 17 years ago, right? So there's all these indicators that are happening, but we're not really informed to notice, hey, this is my nervous system. This is my cortisol levels going wackadoodle and affecting, my sleep cycles and my digestion. Digestion is a huge indicator. And I think that's the one that most people come with, right? Is like all of a sudden I'm dairy intolerant and I'm gluten intolerant. So, it must be just no longer able to eat those things where really it's your hormones and your nervous system are the root cause of those. Yeah. So many indicators, so many before we get to that burnout spot.
Yeah, the overnight, right? It just happened overnight. It's like
Yeah.
really it had nothing to do with like the last 15 years of how you were treating your body and completely
Yeah.
ignoring all these little signs. Like you said, the food sensitivities, that's a huge one. Everybody's like, it's a little gas and bloating, whatever, I'll just deal with it because it's so,
Hmm.
the heartburn, we just take Tums for it. We have all these band-aids. And because
Hmm.
everybody's doing it, because it's
Yeah.
so common, we think
Yeah.
it's normal.
Yeah.
And common does not equal normal. That is, like you said, those are your signs. And that is something that I like want to shout from the rooftops that everybody needs to start listening to that. And it doesn't have to be major, right? To
Mm.
actually, especially the earlier you catch it, right? The earlier you start
Yes.
addressing these things. So I mean, most of the like most common signs
Hmm.
that you have nervous system dysregulation. And like you mentioned, that does actually impact the rest of your hormones. If you are constantly driving out cortisol to the point where your body's no longer actually responding to it, but you still
Yeah.
have that signal going out, right? That is energy being put out that is not going to sex hormones. And then they're on a crazy roller coaster already. And with that, estrogen and progesterone, they impact quite literally everything. Your immune system, like you say, your digestion, our gut microbiome, which is part of that. Just minor breakdown, not minor bloating, not minor sensitivity, until it turns into full blown, I can't eat anything without looking like I'm 6 months pregnant. And then again, just downstream. So yeah, it literally the entire body. It's really wild. So what are some of the most common mistakes that women are making when they're maybe experiencing some of these things, right? The belly fat, the sleepless nights, the bloating. What are they doing that's maybe actually making these things worse for them?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can speak from experience that when you're exhausted and grabbing 3 cups of coffee, that's stop doing that, ladies. Stop
It's common, but it's not normal.
But I see. So one of the things I see so often is I've gained weight. So now I'm going to hit the gym harder, or I'm going to go do HIIT workouts, or I'm going to start jogging and running. And you're adding hours and hours and hours of stress to an already stressed out body. Now, don't get me wrong. Like I train every single day. I love to train, but there comes a place where when your body is so overly taxed and you're adding stress to it, it's not going to be a good thing, right? So that is the one thing I see is that instead of addressing the exhaustion and the fatigue that's happening in our system because, oh my gosh, I'm gaining weight, we go into that hyper overdrive. And I love personally, I could spend hours in the gym picking up the heavy things and putting them back down. That's my jam.
Same.
I love it.
Same.
I hate HIIT training. I hate cardio. Like when I was working as a personal trainer, my clients would be like, are you going to make me do any cardio? I'd be like, hell's no. That's your job. Do that on your own. Right? When we're already so tired and we think, if I just go to that HIIT class, if I just do more, then it'll get better. Instead of saying, you know what, I really need a nap, or I really need to take a deep breath, and maybe I need to stretch. Maybe it's not saying like, don't go to the gym, don't do your workout, but how can that workout actually serve you today? So that's a big one. The other one that I see happening a lot is the idea that, if I just skip my meals or if I fast, right? Which I love fasting. I think done properly, it can be fantastic. Right? A lot of the women that I worked with in my nutritional coaching days would eat until like 2:00 in the afternoon. And
they're living off coffee until then.
Right? They're like, I had my black coffee.
Yeah.
Like, dude, no, right? Because you need that support first thing in the morning. You need that protein first thing in the morning. You need to help your body regulate those hormones first thing in the morning. So that's another huge mistake that I see happening. And then I also, I see, the mentality of I'm just going to push through, like we already said, right? I'll just push through. I'll just keep going. I'll grab the extra coffee. I'll just keep doing whatever it is, not actually addressing that maybe there is an emotional component here. Maybe there is some trauma or some energetics at play here. I know a lot of the women that I work with, they're people pleasers. I was too. I was like, I can't say no. I have no boundaries.
As in, boundaries, the boundaries.
That's right. How dare I say no and hurt their feelings, even though literally I'm falling asleep making these cupcakes for that hockey tournament, right? Like you just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And so that I think that all kind of ties in as the biggest thing is that they push forward despite their bodies really needing a deep breath, a relaxation, maybe some meditation work, something to calm, right? Not keep going. Yeah.
That is I think, energy, right? Having the actual energy to do the things. But I think the biggest thing, because again, you find the energy to do all the things for everybody else.
Yeah.
But I think correct me if I'm wrong based on what you see, but from my perspective and the women that come to us, their number one problem is the fact that they are doing everything for everyone else. And they just think if I take a break or if I say no or if I
Mhm.
make my kids do that instead of this, like the whole world's going to fall apart.
Mhm.
And it's amazing when we go into like, what can you delegate? What
Yeah.
can you say no to? Like, what's
Yeah.
actually going to happen if
Yeah.
you say no? Actually,
Yeah.
like, give me real world. If somebody's going to dislike you, like, okay, is that worth your health? Because that's where we're
Mhm.
at. So I'm curious, do you have any? And the other thing is the selfishness part of it, because they, again, they're doing all this because they don't want to feel selfish and take
Yeah.
this time for them. And so how do you help women around this? Because like I said, this is what I see as the number
Yeah.
one issue, really.
It really is, and I think you're right. It all boils down to that, right? We can't put ourselves first. We feel selfish. We've been conditioned to believe that that is not what we're supposed to do, be the good girl, be seen but not heard, like I
Yeah.
can remember my grandfather saying that to me. I'll see you there, but I don't want to hear you. Excuse me.
Sorry, I exist.
But I think that the biggest thing that we do in the coaching is we start to make little shifts, because I find if you're coming into these kind of programs, you're already coming with a plate that's so overwhelming that you're like, are you going to make me put something else on my plate? Like, are you going to make me add more to my plate? Or I'll have women say, well, I can't add this to my plate right now. I'm like, great. Can we shift something on that plate? So what we do is, first thing, we always do a time audit. We look at what are you actually doing with your time and do you enjoy it? So we really dig into, okay, where's your energy going each and every day? And a lot of the times we're seeing like 2 or 3 hours of that day on social media or numbed out doing something that really isn't serving you at
Like a
all.
trauma response, though. It's a nervous system response to just, okay, I have to just check out
Yeah.
and then I get in this scroll hole. So yeah, it ties
Yeah.
back to that. And that's like the problem.
Right? So I'll say to my clients, okay, I'm not going to tell you don't pick up your phone when you need to disassociate, but can we set 2 minutes of that time aside first for some deep breath? And I give them, I have like pre-recorded breath work and EFT tapping exercises where it's literally 2 minutes. So you got your phone in your hand anyways, press on the link, go to the YouTube, do the breath work for 2 minutes. And then if you need to go scroll, okay, no problem. But let's start to shift how we are approaching what we do with ourselves. Another great one is, on your lunch hour. Are you taking a lunch, or are you sitting at your desk, still working, still going like crazy, trying to keep up with everybody? Or are you taking the time to actually be present with your food and enjoy it? Right. So can we shift? Can you take 2 minutes? And I start with really small increments, because when I was going through it, I hated the idea of like, oh my God, I have to add an hour of something to my life. Like that was like, no, but I can do 2 minutes. I can handle 2 minutes. So that's what we do. We just start to shift these little things. We look at what nutrition is happening. What are you doing with your energy? What are you doing with your movement on your body? Are you literally sitting all day long, or do you get up and go for walks? Can you set a timer for yourself for like a 2-minute stroll around the office if you're in an office? Can you just find a way to make an excuse? I have to go make a photocopy. I don't know. I haven't worked in an office for like ever, so I don't know. But a lot of the women that I work with are office people, right? So it's just those little things. It's not adding more. It's just, let's figure out how we can shift this around a bit so that we're doing things that serve us. And then when they start to really see, okay, that little bit of chaos, the chaos of the doom scroll, that just makes you crazy. But I can take that away, and I can take 2 minutes of my doom scroll, and I can just take some deep breaths, connect to myself. I'm like, oh, okay, I like this. This is a clear win for me. And then once you start to see those wins, then it gives you the confidence to do a little bit more, right? Because now you're trusting, hey, I can care for myself in these little ways. I bet you I could do a little bit more. So that's kind of how I roll here. Nothing crazy, nothing over the top. We're already stressed out. No more stress, right? So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I love that approach. Obviously, that's very similar to what we do. It's just you have to take it in bite-sized pieces. And like you said, everybody comes in and is like, I don't have time for this. It's like, that's exactly why you need to be here.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like the people who are like, oh, I'm so bad at meditation. It's like, well, that probably means you need to do it more. But yeah, those little pockets, like you said, of just becoming more aware
Mhm.
of where your time is going, how you're feeling, what you're actually doing with your day. The time audit
Yeah.
is such a powerful thing. Did this
Mhm.
years ago. I should probably do it again, let's be honest, because I mean, I'm guilty. Everybody's guilty, right? Of just getting, it's amazing how long and how quickly it goes by. 30 minutes goes by scrolling.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I'm just looking for a reel. I'm like, it's
Yeah.
work, right? And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God, get off this thing. Like just sucks you in. It's crazy. And so the time audit is such a powerful visual of where your day's actually going. Like you said, those bite-sized pieces of just checking in are so powerful. And so moving into the confidence piece, right? We're talking about chaos here, but we'll move into that
Yeah.
confidence piece. And that is, like you said, a byproduct of these little bite-sized pieces of like
Yeah.
re-regulating and following through with the things that taking care of yourself and following through
Mhm.
with, like you said, the things that you say you're going to do and that you need to do for
Yeah.
yourself. And so how does this then kind of further translate feeling safe in your body? How does this translate into that self-trust, that confidence and clarity?
Yeah. So I'm a firm believer that confidence is not like that big, flashy. I know when we say confidence, people think like, oh, she's confident because she's like big and in your face and like flashy and doing all the things. But I really believe that confidence is when you trust and you're rooted in yourself. When you have that moment of I showed up for me and I'm so proud of myself for that. That to me is confidence. So when we do those little shifts and we say, okay, I was able to instead of going to the doom scroll right away, I was able to do a meditation and I'm so proud of myself because eventually you get to that point where you're like, maybe I don't need to doom scroll at all. Right. I'm okay. I'm good. And so as that starts to happen and you start to build that trust in yourself, then you start to make confident decisions like setting boundaries, like saying no, because now you understand, hey, no, that is not going to be good for me. That's going to be like going back to the doom scrolling for 2 hours. So for me, I'm going to say no to this because I know that it's not good for me. So that's where I see so many women as we get through into the end of the program and we get through into the confidence, you just are able to actually say yes and no to the things that light you up and no to the things that are like a hard pass, right? And I think that is the biggest win when you can get to that place.
Yeah, the confidence piece, like you mentioned, like yes, everybody wants to or has this image, I think, of confidence being like strutting down the beach in a bikini, like whatever, doing all these things. And it's like,
Yeah.
no, like just saying, having the confidence in yourself and knowing your own power
Mhm.
to do what is best for you and make those choices despite what other people may think or what other
Yeah.
people even say or
Yeah.
talk about how you live your life. Like that is
Yeah.
confidence. And that is the confidence that really matters because that is obviously going to trickle down and play a role in every other aspect of your life. So I love
Mhm.
that definition basically of confidence and, the benefit of that and what it
Mhm.
means. What is just to kind of tie this up? I think this is a great place to do that. Coming into that confidence piece. What is one message, one tip, one tool you want every midlife woman to walk
Mm.
away with? Throw it out there.
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing is that you're worth it. That is the biggest thing. It's not, you don't have to invest in everybody else and not invest in yourself. You are worth the time and the energy. You are worth putting into yourself and building yourself back up in this phase. And it doesn't have to be insanely overwhelming. And it shouldn't be. If you're ready to make those small steps and start to come back to yourself, that's what they should be, those small steps. They shouldn't be exorbitant, over the top, things. Just start with something simple. Start with box breathing for 2 minutes, or start with just putting your feet outside in the grass and just taking that moment for yourself. That's the biggest thing. You are worth these little investments in yourself. Yeah.
I love that because I think that is the real root cause, right? We talk about root cause a lot
Mm,
of times, like gut health, hormones. It's like, no, it's like your self-worth. Like, where can we cultivate that? Because without the actions behind that, self-concept,
mhm.
nothing else will be
fixed, right? Your nervous system is going to be dysregulated. Your hormones are going to be up, and the stream of things that come along with that. Powerful message. Thank you. That was amazing. So insightful, so powerful, and I think so important for every woman to hear. So I hope that everyone took something away from this conversation, and this is their permission slip to just take a break. Exhale, take a breath, inhale, exhale, and know that you don't have to just power through the rest of your life feeling like you likely feel now. So, thank you so much. Where can people find you? You have a book, you have a podcast, all the things. Share with us.
Yeah, absolutely. So everything is linked on my website, chaosclarityandconfidence.com. You can find me on Instagram at Victoria_Life Strategist. And the podcast is also Chaos, Clarity, and Confidence as well. It's on all platforms. And I just come join the conversation. Connect, and you can grab the book on our website as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Victoria. It's so great talking with you, and we'll talk to you soon.
If this episode hit home for you, I highly recommend grabbing a copy of Victoria's book, Chaos, Clarity, and Confidence. It's not just a read, it is an experience. There's also a companion journal, free access to her book club with meditations, masterclasses that go even deeper into nervous system work. So I will link everything from her in the show notes. And as always, if this episode sparked something from you, send me a DM over on Instagram, tag us, and share the part that hit hardest. We love seeing what lands for you. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Fitness Simplified podcast. We are stoked to have you join us on your journey to better health and fitness. If you have any questions, suggestions for future topics, or you just want to chat, feel free to reach out to us on Instagram at Brooke_Elysian and Facebook linked in the show notes or via our website, ElysianWomensWellness.com. And if you enjoyed what you heard today, we'd be thrilled if you could take a half second to leave us a 5-star rating and review so that you can help others find our show. If there was something you heard that was helpful or impactful, please screenshot, tag me, and share what it was so that we can bring you more. Plus, you'll be entered into our monthly Legion Recharge post-workout giveaway. New episodes drop every other Monday, so make sure to hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more. Thanks for listening.